formats. Preferably a full and unconditional ceasefire. Unconditional. However, we are also open to discussing unconditional ceasefires limited to civilian infrastructure, energy facilities, and maritime routes, topics we have discussed previously. These are the various formats on the table. Ukraine remains ready for an unconditional ceasefire, as we have stated multiple times following proposals from the United States. What will be proposed today, we shall see. There may be something to talk about. Now, I'd like to highlight several key points. Today, I received an important report from Commander-in-Chief Zelenskyy. I want to thank and commend the armed forces of Ukraine, our security and defense forces. Today, there was an offensive by the Russian Federation in the direction of Pokrovsk, in the east of our country. The brunt of this assault was taken on by the 14th National Guard Brigade and the 117th Brigade. Ukraine, having carefully anticipated and prepared for this offensive, successfully and completely destroyed the attacking group. As a result of the operation, 115 units of enemy equipment were obliterated, while 200 enemy personnel were killed and 30 more sustained serious injuries. We thank our armed forces for their service. Last night, there was another offensive by the enemy in the Zaporizhia direction. There, the enemy lost 80 personnel, 117 were wounded, and 40 units of equipment were destroyed. This is what we have been warning our partners about. Russia is expected to launch several waves of offensives, in the Sumy, Kharkiv, and Zaporizhia directions, and possibly again in the east, where they haven't attacked for some time. What is crucial is that Ukrainian forces were ready and responded. It was not unexpected, and that matters. Tomorrow, I will introduce two major sanction packages, one targeting Kremlin propagandists, and another targeting the manufacturers of Iskander missiles. At this very moment, quite literally right now, our team is actively working in real time, in close coordination with the American side, on drafting and finalizing a memorandum that addresses the issue of critical minerals, which is of paramount importance for both our countries. I'll be able to share more details on that soon. I can also tell you about the details. And finally, some important but unpleasant news. We have now received confirmation that China is supplying weapons to the Russian Federation. We are prepared to speak about this in more detail. As of today, we have received comprehensive and detailed intelligence reports from both the security service and military intelligence, providing us with crucial information regarding the current status of gunpowder supplies and artillery capabilities, which are essential for our defense operations. I firmly believe that by next week, we will be in a position to provide much more detailed and comprehensive information, especially with regard to the evidence we are gathering, which strongly indicates that certain Chinese representatives are actively involved in the manufacturing of weapons on the territory of the Russian Federation. This information will be crucial for our ongoing efforts to address the situation.
Thank you for this opportunity. Halina Ostapovets, Live News. I have a question. You've likely heard Mr. Witkoff's statement following his talks with Putin. He claimed that a deal is supposedly being considered involving 5 Ukrainian territories. What do you know about this? What are we realistically prepared to agree to in this regard? And how close are we now to a comprehensive ceasefire agreement? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As I've already said today, we are discussing an unconditional ceasefire. And until that ceasefire is in place, we are not discussing territory. You know my position, and you know our red lines. We will never recognize any of our temporarily occupied territories, our Ukrainian land, as Russian. Never. Thirdly, I am of the opinion that Mr. Witkoff has, to a certain extent, aligned himself with and adopted the strategy put forward by the Russian side, which raises significant concerns regarding his stance on the ongoing issues at hand. I think it's a very dangerous approach because, whether consciously or not, I don't know, he is spreading Russian narratives. And in any case, that does not help. I don't see him having any mandate to discuss Ukrainian territory. These territories belong to our people, to our nation, and not just to us today, but to future generations of Ukrainians. So frankly, I don't understand what he's talking about. Yes, we've heard it. but we've heard it as just another one of Mr. Putin's delusions. I didn't expect that he would have people willing to continue those narratives and spread them in other civilized countries. That's why I don't take it seriously. As for a comprehensive ceasefire, Ukraine is ready to support it. We are already providing our support for the cause. However, we firmly believe that Russia is not yet fully prepared for what lies ahead. As we have mentioned on several occasions, they are planning multiple waves of offensives, each aimed at seizing as much territory as possible. Their ultimate goal is not to engage with us as people, but rather to view us purely as land, measuring, taking, and controlling our territory as if it were nothing more than a strategic asset to be seized. Their intention is to deliberately escalate the situation, ramp up the intensity of their attacks, and use this heightened conflict as a means to strengthen their negotiating position in any future discussions. This is precisely the strategy they are pursuing, employing missile strikes, conducting offensive military operations, and orchestrating provocations, all designed to stoke the flames of the conflict and increase its intensity in the critical period leading up to the final negotiations. Here's what they do. The closer President Trump moves toward implementing serious sanctions and taking decisive actions against Russia, particularly in response to their refusal to support a comprehensive ceasefire, the more Russia's position will weaken. As a result, this will bring us all one step closer to reaching a point where we can bring an end to the war, as Russia will find it increasingly difficult to maintain its stance in the face of mounting pressure. That's how I see it. And that's what this depends on.
Thank you, Olsia Safronova, Bloomberg. I have a question regarding the mineral agreement. Could you please clarify, is the use of Ukraine's gas transmission system, particularly the pipeline, currently being discussed with the United States in the context of this mineral agreement? And does Ukraine, for example, consider the possibility of resuming gas transit through our pipeline system? Is the American side insisting on this? Thank you.
First of all, let me speak to the status of our discussions. The technical meeting was indeed productive and positive. And I think that's a good sign. It took place in different formats, in person in the US, and also online. The discussions are ongoing, they continued yesterday and today. Our first Deputy Prime Minister is working closely with Mr. Bessent's team, and directly with Mr. Bessent himself. The American side suggested that we go back to the earlier stages of this process. As you know, we had already been working on a serious agreement, one that was meant to be submitted to Parliament and passed through the proper legal procedures, with input from lawyers to ensure it would be a success for both nations. That's why the technical meetings were positive, and we saw a willingness from both sides to move toward each other. A few days ago, the US side proposed taking another interim step while legal teams continue drafting the full agreement, namely, signing a memorandum of intent. That's what it's called. A memorandum of intent. And our intentions are clear, and they are positive, constructive, and we've demonstrated that. So, while this would not be the agreement itself, the memorandum of intent could be signed online today, yes, today, and our side said, okay. Right now, our first Deputy Prime Minister is working with the US team on finalizing the text. To be honest, I believe this memorandum is an important and reasonable first step. Why wouldn't both countries agree to that? As for the pipeline, it has not been discussed. Although I believe that if we want to talk about this asset, we can. But of course, not in the sense of allowing the Russians to send their gas through the pipeline and profit from the war. We've made it clear many times, there are other sources of gas, there are other countries, and if there are any such proposals, we can revisit that. But as of now, no one has returned to this topic. And let me be frank, the Americans have not pushed us in any direction on this.
Tetyana Pasova, Ukrinform. Mr. President, in your recent interview with CBS, you said that Ukraine is ready to purchase Patriot systems. But is the American side actually willing to sell them? Or are there perhaps other partners ready to do so? Have there been any signals from the US administration? Thanks.
Regarding the Patriot systems, we understand that there is a major shortage and that it's a serious issue globally. I see this not just as a defense need, but as part of broader security guarantees for our country.